Hello, dear listeners and viewers. On today's episode, my guest is Jure Pukl, a world-class saxophone player and improviser, a truly brilliant musician. I'm really fond of him and I just love his sense of humor. We also share a couple of similarities. One of them is that we both come from a small town called Velenje and that we both moved back recently after years of living abroad. Today's talk will be about jazz, about improvisation. He will share his hilarious story about his musical upbringing. You have to hear it to believe it. All the way to enjoying life as it is and embracing what it gives you. One of the things that he will also talk about is how he used NFT as an artwork on one of his recent albums called Melt. We also had a similar experience with people or teachers doubting in you. And that experience was not nice, of course, but I realized I would not change a not nice experience for anything because it gave me a chance to grow stronger from it and to realize what I really want and make that even more meaningful. I think one of the problems today is society trying to protect and prevent people not nice experiences. For example, parents trying to remove everything unpleasant in their kids' life, or society with its close to paranoid political correctness. I believe we have to be challenged in order to train our mental resilience. I see it like training a sport, body or craft, as an artist for that matter. Of course, as long as it's not life-threatening. How can we ever get stronger or wiser if not through a set of challenges in life? I hope that you will enjoy the talk and that you get inspired by the topics that we discuss.
Welcome to the Sound Mind Podcast, where I invite interesting guests from the music field and discuss with them topics such as musical and personal growth, pursuing excellence and self-talk, body and mind maintenance, practice and work routines, music business, and more. I'm your host, Michael Krustel, and welcome to the Sound Mind Podcast.
Hello, dear Jure. Thanks for responding and joining here on the Sound Mind podcast. Great to have you.
Sure thing. Thanks for the invitation and great to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So we share a couple of similarities. We are both coming from a wonderful town called Velenje. We both lived abroad for some years. Well, you much more than me. We both moved back to Slovenia recently, and we both share a secret, which involves one person and ideally two or ideally three sandwiches, actually. But maybe let's see if we are gonna open up on this one later on.
Let's see if we get that.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. Right off the bat, man, I want to really just share that I find you such a cool dude, and so honest and humorous, and one of the qualities that I've noticed, and I know only a couple of people that can do that, and I really admire that, is that you're able to talk about like give a critic or like discuss something difficult, and I find at least that when that was happening, when you were sharing something, the atmosphere still remains light, like I feel that you have that. I really think that is a gift when I notice that in people. Do you notice that? Like, do you
Wait, do you mean talking shit about somebody or something but still smiling? No, I think I think it's just a shield. It's a protection. No, well, might be some truth in that too. That I think the great comics were very dark inside, but on the outside they were they were funny and people like to be around it. Yeah. Well, I hope I'm not a great comic. Because I wouldn't want to be in their shoes. But well, I think maybe that's just because I don't take life in general too serious. On one hand, on the other hand, of course, I'm very serious about certain things, especially music and some other stuff. But well, I mean, it's great to hear that commenter from the outside. Maybe I never thought of that. I never saw it like that, but so I don't really have an answer for that. I can say, well, I do try to be, let's say, comfortable around people. I mean, to make people comfortable, being comfortable around me, and vice versa, of course. So I guess some of the so-called skills, I guess, I gained through. Well, I have to say something. I think some of these social skills I got from my father. He's a very social guy, and people like to be around him, and he always put, a bunch of people together, um, like family, friends, and bigger, and he would I remember he would bring 6, 7, 8 families down to Croatian island for a summer trip, and and people liked it, and people stayed there, and people were coming back. So looks like I did get some of that from my dad. So
Wow. And I guess then, I mean, because I know that you're playing with so many people, and either they are a part of your groups, and like you kind of I think you're very capable of blending in into different setups, different settings, and groups, and yeah, how I think that's also then connected, right? Like it's a skill probably that you've been developing and through these years of jazz. It might, right? It might connect somewhere there as well.
yeah, you're right. That might be a connection right there. Social skills and just having a fun being around people, different situations. I like to be challenged, to be thrown in a uncomfortable zone, let's say. Um, and that, yeah, that brought me to places and working with people all around the world, and I think the in music, if we talk about music, what we do in music, I believe it's a team play. Of course, there's always moments where you shine, where you have your 5 minutes of fame or whatever it's called. But I think in at the end, in general, it's a social thing, and it's a language that we speak, and that not exactly, the words are not exactly the same between us, but they're understandable. So example, I would say bread in a certain way, and somebody else would say it in a different way. But we would recognize that we talked about bread or something else, for that matter. I talk about bread because I'm making it right now. So, but I believe in that. I believe that music is communication. And if you're closed down, you might be a great musician, but you have to find your solo performances, or you can't collaborate with everyone. There needs to be a certain specific carpet for you ready. But I believe most great musicians, they were also very flexible, and you could put them in a different environment. And I always liked that idea. And some of my favorite musicians are that way. They were in different let's say different musical situations, different musical languages throughout their careers. So I kind of look up to that too.
Mm. And how do you actually choose the people that you perform with, like as a part of your own project?
Yeah, well, there's definitely I hear them beforehand somewhere in a certain situation. I remember one of my first record I did. I called Jamire Williams on drums, who's not even on scene anymore. He went different direction afterwards. But I heard him in New York with playing in a kind of a jam session situation, but an opening set with Robert Glasper trio. And Jamire was 18 years or 19 years old at that time, and I just went to him. I was so impressed by his playing that I just walked up to him and asked him for his number. I, of course, told him how much I enjoyed his playing, and then called him up and asked him if he would be down to work with me to, to do something and record something. And basically, that's how I do it. I just, something or somebody that I like, I try to get it. I said something because sometimes it's something else. It's not a person or just music situations. But if I want something, I try to get it. And I try to do it the most natural way, as it is natural for me, of course, and not to, of course, pay respect and try to be comfortable around this person so that this person would feel comfortable too. And I think that's a good recipe for in general for life, for people to communicate with other people, and especially in our creative artistic world where there's also a lot of like it could get bad temper can come out, people are emotional, people are sensitive, because art is sensitive thing, so we do express and give a lot, and I think also we give a lot in general life. When we talk, sometimes I see in a company of people that we artists, when we don't agree with something, or when we think something was said wrong or put in a wrong context, we raise our voices and we say something, and sometimes it's uncomfortable in for other people that just observe. But I think it's the honest way, and it's a direct way, and that's how I try to approach talking to people, ask them for collaboration, or for their services, or however you want to put it.
Yeah, I think this thing you mentioned, like raising your voice, I notice in myself that, especially with the people that I believe in, or that I like or enjoy, that I have the tendency to air something what is inside of me very fast, like, and sometimes it's not even the need to be resolved. It's just that I get it, that I give it out there, and that people know that maybe that I disagree on this.
Yeah.
And then, okay, if something happens, whatever, but look, I have to share this, and
Yeah.
then usually it, in 99%, it deepens the relationship because of it. And then, because usually it's mutual, and then, like, if you're in a musical collaboration or a musical relationship, right,
Right.
because I think we are quite sensitive as musicians, and then you just start to build also not only music but this relationship. And I think in jazz in particular, right, it's really this even deeper, even a deeper bond that is being mended together, right?
What you just said it's for me, that's descriptions of arts. Like, I have to put it out there. That need just to put it out there, to work on it, of course, and spend hours and days and weeks and months or years even on it, and then you put it out. So what you said, that sometimes you have to put it out, and even if that's all, you just put it out verbally. Let's say in a company of people, you talk and you have to put it out, even though you make people uncomfortable. But I think that's a great description of arts too, in one way. And second, what you said in music and jazz, I think jazz is exactly that. Jazz was born to raise voice of black people, you know, being put down and being not treated on an even human level, not even equal level, but human level. So I think that music, you know, that we call jazz this day, and it's been spread out in the different social views of you know of the of society, let's say. Um, but it's still raising voice. It's still yeah, it's still pointing to something, or it's still want to tell you something, although maybe it's not even sometimes understandable. But the need of musicians is to put it out there and to release that energy, I would say.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And what is your opinion? Because I noticed now that you've been playing with similar artists for several times, and how do you ever think like, okay, I'm playing with these artists now, and then how liberal are you when you think, maybe I need a drummer or a bass player? Like how is that? Because usually, like my problem was that sometimes I would feel bad to maybe try out. It felt like cheating, you know, when I would go and play with a different drummer or a bass player.
Right, right.
How do you? What's your take?
I think in my you know 25 plus years of being a freelance musician, lately I'm slowing down a little bit. I'm teaching more too, and you know, but for 25 years I lived off you know freelance music, doing music freelancing, and so collaborating with a lot of different people, like we talked about it before. But then you know, so I played with a lot of people. So before that I even had a problem. I was like, man, I need to, you know, I need to narrow a little bit and have like, you know, 10 people, you know, 3 drummers, 3 bass players, 3 this, 3 that, you know, whatever. I felt bad, and I felt like, you know, and but then once I moved to New York, I saw how much that is a thing too. I mean, not just a thing; it's a natural thing that you just play with, like you know, everyone, and noticed how you're learning from people that you don't like to play with too. Like you learn, and now when I'm teaching, I'm, you know, I see how I learn from my, I don't want to call them students, but my colleagues that are not that experienced yet. How much I learn from them too. So it's just to mention it, it's a great to have a teaching job that you get paid, but you're actually learning yourself too. It's amazing. But what I wanted to say is that, yeah, before that I was like, you know, all over the place playing with everyone, and now lately I have a little more, let's say, picky moment where I, you know, enjoy playing with certain people, and not with just everyone anymore as I used to. But that's not. I think it's just a process in my life, and also age. You know, I'm not as young anymore, although I look young. Joking, but you know, it comes to a point where you start to narrow your working circle with people that you work. And also, for that matter, you know, venues, performances, where you really like to play and where you don't like to play that much. And you can say, well, no, I don't want to go play there, because at the end of the, you know, summa summarum will be, I won't be happy. It's, you know, it's not a place for me, maybe. It's not my vibe. It's not exactly whereas 20 years ago, I would go and play anywhere with anyone almost, you know. So I don't see that these days, you know, oh, you became old and grumpy and, you know, not accepting and closed-minded, and I don't see that like that. I think it's part of life and the journey. And I think, you know, the older we get, we also have a little smaller circle of friends and people you really want to go out with and spend time, you know. There's a smaller circle of things you're buying, you're needing, you know, you learn that, okay, yeah, this thing would be great to have, but I don't really need it, you know. I don't. So I think it's part of, you know, just growing. I don't want to say growing up, but it's just growing. You know, growing can be like a tree. You know, can grow into the right or left or not just up. You know, not all the trees just go up. So growing is different shapes and different directions. And I think growing up or growing is also choices. You know, the choices you do, the choices you make. So yeah, lately I've been working with people that I mean, it's still a big circle of people. It's not like 5. It's still probably 50 or 40 or depends on a you know, projects and periods in the year. But yeah, I narrowed down a little bit. So I don't necessarily look anymore for like, ooh, I need a, you know, younger cat to bring me this, or I need a experienced guy to bring me this. And now I can feel pretty much spontaneously too, like what I need or what I want. And those are people that that I keep coming back and calling them for you know, to play with me or work with me.
So, I mean, I think I understood like what because you mentioned before, you kind of mentioned it, but I want to ask you, like, what is the most important thing for you in a musician?
I think it's well, let me put it in jazz context. I think in jazz and improvised music, because it's a high virtuosic music. It's high-end technical music. It's high-end emotional music. It's high-end expression music. How do you say it? Yeah, expression. Yeah. It's high-end personal music. It's high-end, what we talked before, raise your voice, I want to tell a story music. So all these components make us jazz musicians very, you know, vulnerable sometimes. And, you know, somebody says for other cat, oh, he can't play changes, or he can't play this, or he doesn't have this, you know, and we hear these stories. So I hate that. I hate that in a musician if he shows that. So I don't like to work with people that have this kind of opinions, and they bring up opinions all the time. Because then it makes me think, well, what if he thinks about me, like, you know, at the end, maybe he's just here for the money, you know?
Yeah.
So that's the first thing, that if I know somebody like that, he will have to like make it really better in a couple of years, that I would really want to work with somebody like that too. Even though if it's a great musician, I don't care. Because it's not, you know, for me, there's many great musicians, and it's not just one or you know, couple. And especially if you have your own vision and he or she is a sideman, then it doesn't have to be the greatest virtuoso player. It needs to be player that, you know, what I'm looking for. So that would be one thing. Second thing would be this openness, that if we go local, we go local. You know, we don't, oh no, we shouldn't go local because local is not good. You know, no, it's part of us. It's part of being human. Or, you know, if we go serious, if we go deep, if we go well, deep should be always, but if we go serious, like let's say, you know, in a contemporary classical kind of, you know, that it's not like, okay, this is whatever, or free for that matter, or written out corny stuff. That people go for it with me. So that's what I mean by being open and being, or even if they don't know something, that they try to do it. That's already half of the work done. If you try it, right, or just do it, as Nike, found a great commercial niche. Just do it. It's a great thing. That's why I think also Nike is successful, because they have a great quote. And so people like that, and people that would bring honesty to the music, people that wouldn't just push music, which I'm learning now. I think when I'm listening to myself 10 years ago, I'm like, oh man, why am I pushing so much? What do I want to, like, music is there already. Why do I want to push it somewhere, like, even more? Like, it feels artificial when I listen to myself, So I learned a great deal of that from playing with more experienced, older musicians, because they don't have to prove anything anymore. You know what I mean? Music is there. They believe in themselves. They know they are, that they're strong, but they don't use that in that way. They just transform the energy into the music. And to learn that is, I think that's the very high end in learning music. And I think the first person I felt that with was Howard Curtis, great drummer who is now retired, still lives in Graz, but he was a professor in Graz for drums. And when we started to play, I was always rushing, and I was almost fell on my nose. He was keeping me there, didn't move with that tempo or drums, and we talked about it, and he kind of just smiled. He said, "No, you good, you got it. You just have to get in there, and relax." But I didn't understand. Well, like what's relax? Like, yeah, I'm relaxed, man. I'm relaxed. So so it's those kind of musicians, yeah, and definitely musicians that have good sound on their instrument and can express technically what they want to express. So I'm not saying technique on an instrument is needed 100%, because I mean, there's proof in music history, right? Either bands, vocalists, instrumentalists that weren't the greatest technical players, but they were the greatest band leaders, songwriters, you name it. But to a certain extent, they have to be on a good technical level to play certain music. So yeah, I think that, of course, the emotional part, the sensitive part, the expressive part needs to be there. But I think that comes with, when you say musician who's open, or musician who has a good knowledge of that, and he will know how to react. I think if you say that, that means that he has this certain level of technique, certain sound on his instrument, certain emotional aspect that he can put out. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to now ask you a little bit about your beginnings.
Oh no.
The musical beginnings.
Oh no.
Like how was that showing? How was that how did you actually start to become like music? Just musical. Let's say.
I will tell you. You will laugh, and everybody who's gonna listen to this, they're gonna laugh. Well, I wanted to start playing clarinet because my big brother in the street, not brother, friend, but who lived on the same street. Actually, he still does. He was playing clarinet, but he was the oldest guy in the company of us, who were living there on this street where I grew up. And he played the clarinet, so I'm like, I want to play the clarinet. So at first they put me on a flute recorder, right? So already that was like, man, I just wanted to play clarinet. Like, why do I have to do this recorder thing? But I did a year, and then finally I got the clarinet, and you know, I was going to the lessons, and then every half a year it was getting worse and worse. I realized that you have to practice this thing. I thought if you decide, you just play it, and then you play it. You know, I didn't have. So every half a year it was getting worse. My teacher was like frustrated, and this other guy who we took lessons together. He's pretty famous Slovenian guy, Peter Poles, a TV personality. We went to school together. We went to music school together. So he was always on top of everything in school, you know, homework, blah blah blah, practicing clarinet. I was this other guy, you know, who didn't do the homeworks and didn't practice the clarinet. And he, so we had lessons together. And so he was always getting compliments from the teacher, and I was always getting, you know, critics and criticism, and you know, you're like, come on, you gotta practice. Whether I'm like, whatever. I want to become a skateboarder, and I wanted to play guitar, and then a basketball player, and volleyball player, and ski jumps for. So I did all these things, and my family, they were nuts. They were like, man, what now? Now skiing and what? But I left everything. I started it, I did it 2 years, and then I realized, oh, you have to put work in. Oh, no, that's not for me. So I was a very, like, very just careless kid. You know, some friends now tell me, oh my God, you were so full of yourself. Like, I didn't like you at all. I'm like, really? But now I believe him. Now I believe him, you know, now I know that I was. But back then, you know, I was just careless. I think the world is mine. I didn't care about anything. I just did what I wanted to do in that moment. And so it was interesting. I was doing all these things, and like, you know, skiing was the longest and music school was the longest. But everything else was like a year or two the most. So I said, I want to quit music school. And my dad was like, no, you're going to finish that clarinet in another year, and then you're finished elementary music school, because you start everything and you just, you know, quit, and I don't want you to quit music. I think he was embarrassed because he knew the teacher. He was like a family friend and he respected him, so he was like, no, you're gonna finish that music school. So he had to sit with me like 15 minutes a day, that I would go through the, you know, etudes and scales and what I had to but he didn't know how to practice good, so I didn't really do good. I just did it 15 minutes. So I finished that school. The clarinet teacher even said to my dad, you know what, Jure is not for music. Maybe he should do something else. You know? And then I quit. I had a rock band, garage band, skateboarding. That was all that I did.
What did you play in the garage band?
Guitar and singing.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, I knew 5 chords, which I still know. But for garage band, that's enough. I didn't even want to know more. I was like, oh, you know, Nirvana plays 3 chords. I can play 3 chords. Or, you know, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Well, Red Hot Chili Peppers, they were bad. But, you know, I was into kind of grunge, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, all that kind of, and some skateboarding bands like No Means No. So I quit. And then I was in a garage band, and we were rehearsing, and then we were listening to some tune, and there was a saxophone. I think it was No Means No, the skateboarding band. Like a skateboarding band, not skateboarders listened to it a lot. It was part of the, you know, community. And I heard a saxophone. I was like, oh man, I could play a saxophone in our band because I know how to play clarinet. That's how easy I took everything. Oh, I can play, you know. So again, I went to my dad. I said, Dad, can you call the music school, because he knew them there, and you know, I want a saxophone. He's like, oh, but he did, and then they gave me an old alto saxophone before the summer, and in summer I was kind of like, you know, I did show some interest that like figure out how to play it. And then, I mean, saxophone, just to explain something, saxophone is a young instrument, right? It's very young, 1846 was born. So the tradition in Slovenia, especially, there was no really jazz tradition back 30 years ago, 35, a little bit, but not, you know, not in smaller towns, or there weren't like radio shows. So also the classical saxophone was developing over the years. And in Velenje at that time, my hometown, there was no like a real classical saxophone teacher. There was clarinet teacher teaching also saxophone. But after that summer, the music director of the music school, Ivan Marin, he invited Otto Vrhovnik, who's a Slovenian classical saxophone pioneer, I could say, that was teaching on University of Performing for Music and Performing Arts in Vienna. And he was the guy who actually opened the classical department for saxophone in Vienna, but never taught in Vienna, in Slovenia before that. So he invited him to come down to Velenje. He's also from, well, close area, Slovenj Gradec, close city. He's from there. So he kind of wanted to come back to Slovenia slowly, you know, and spend some time here. And of course, he took the job, and so he was my first teacher. Now imagine a guy who was teaching at the university level on one of the best classical schools in Europe, in the world, Vienna Classical School, come down to Velenje and get a first student whose t-shirt says "Kill them all, Metallica" or something, like, you know, the shirt like that. I'm not saying I had that one, but like I had, you know, this grunge look, you know, all-star shoes, like pants that were cut, and some, yeah, probably some Nirvana Red Hot Chili Peppers t-shirt, and no clue about the sax. So he was like, "Oh my God, what did I get?" But to, you know, long story short, he was the guy who kind of inspired me for music and made me see things that I didn't see before, and showed me that I have talent for music. And
what
funnily,
was sorry to disturb you. What was the most inspiring for you about him?
Exactly. Well, first it was annoying because he was like, you know, he was pushing me these scales and etudes, but then he started to give me like these little tunes that I could handle and play. And he would take me with him to perform. I remember one time we went to perform for Slovenian army. He was the main guy, sorry. He was the main guy, and a piano player she was accompanying him. You know, he had a little recital for Slovenian army, and he took me with him, and I played this one little tune, 3 minutes. That was easy tune, nothing technically hard, because I didn't have good technique, because I didn't really practice clarinet. So, but he felt that I have a feeling that I can play musical phrases, and you know, so he kind of showed me the way, not knowingly or subconsciously, you know, that I can do it. Because before I thought that I can't do it, that I'm not for music, because the previous teacher said, no, he's not for music. And he couldn't pull me out of the, you know, this, oh, I don't like to do this. I don't like to practice. I don't like to devote time and energy for music. But Otto Vrhovnik did. He kind of, or he wanted to, or I don't know, if he wanted to prove himself that he can turn this guy around, I don't care what, but he did it. So he was, you know, he gave me these little tunes to play, not hard-ass sonatas and concertos, but like light tunes that I could handle and that I would feel good afterwards. And then he did one thing. I think he kind of planned that to test me if I will bite in and go all in. That was one thing. He said, "Jure," you probably know the accent in Slovenian, how I would say now, but since we're speaking in English, it doesn't matter. But he called me Jure. He said, from Vienna, this organization, they're organizing Gustav Mahler Youth Orchestra. They send me, they need a saxophone player for one tune. Would you go on tour with them? Claudio Abbado is going to be conducting. Do you know who's Claudio Abbado? I'm like, no. I didn't have a clue. He was again, Jure, cosa ti pisano? How do you don't know who's Claudio Abbado? I said, I don't know who's Claudio Abbado. I know who's Anthony Kidd, or, you know, like singer of Red Hot Chili Peppers, but I didn't know who's Claudio Abbado. at that point. Anyway, I said, yeah, I would go. He said, yeah, he would go to Spain for a week. You guys would rehearse there. Everything is being paid for. Is very, you know, great young players from all over Europe. And you're going to play this tune, Anton von Webern, Das Augenlicht, which is a reduced orchestra and a choir. And, you know, they're also going to play other pieces, but they only need saxophone, since saxophone is a young instrument. It's not used in all the classical music, especially not before 1846. So, you know, they will play other tunes, but you just do that one tune. But you go on tour for 14 days, you know, Spain, Valencia, Madrid. We played in Palau de la Música in Madrid, like amazing hall. Then we played the concert house in Vienna. I came from like garage to like Claudio Abbado and then concert house and shit. And I was like, but I didn't even, you know, I was like, well, whatever. For example, the clarinet player in the orchestra was Vladimir Ashkenazy's son. You know, I mean, it was like, but I didn't even know the scale of where I am, you know, and what's happening. I was just like, oh, yeah, okay. There was nothing technical to play. It was just like very modern music. We played, they played other tunes like Edgar Varese and Berlioz, and, you know, like heavy stuff. So he sent me on that tour, and I loved it. I was like, out in the world, traveling, they take care of you. They said, you have to go there, then you have dinner, then you have rehearsal, then there's a concert, then we travel there, hotel rooms, blah, blah, blah. I smelled the touring, you know, life. And I loved it, because I love what we talked before. I love be around people. I love to, you know, be in situations. And then I came back, and then we went with a marching band. A tradition in Slovenia is these marching bands, Godbe. And we went to another trip for like 2 weeks. So I was missing school for over a month, gymnasium. So I came back after that, and of course, I rather went home and practiced saxophone than studying math and physics and chemistry and biology and blah, blah, you know, things that didn't interest me at all. Before music and that, I wanted to be a farmer. First, first nice. When I was little, I was like farmer, then a vet. Stuff with animals. I loved animals. I brought all kinds of animals home. My mom said, if you bring home a snake, I'm giving up on you. You know, you're not my son anymore. So the only animal I didn't bring home was a snake, but most of the animals were in our house at a certain point. So before that, it was very like, I wanted to be out in the nature. I wanted to be around people. I wanted to be a farmer, you know, vet, something like that. It was like nothing to study, nothing to put, you know, intellectual work in there. But this time now I came back, you know, I had to do math, physics. So I would have to study so much to get back on track. And I just couldn't. I rather just practice. That's why I think I practiced 5 hours a day at that time, because if I was practicing, then my mom or dad couldn't say like, well, what about, you know, you should do math. Well, at least he's doing something like better. He's practicing his horn than doing nothing. So my teacher Otto said, well, I said, look, I couldn't practice now. I have to do, you know, exams. And there were times where I couldn't practice because I really had to do something for school otherwise. And then he was kind of like, oh man, you need more time to practice. Like, would you do this like professionally? Do you love music? I said, yeah, I love music. What do you mean professionally? Well, and then he told me, he said, look, if you would have time to practice and you don't have to do math and physics and all this stuff, then in 2 years, I would accept you to Vienna, to university, to study. I said, what do you mean? To go to Vienna, to live? He said, yeah. You would come up there, you know, and find a room, and then you live there. I'm like, oh, wow, that would be cool, you know, just to go away from home. So that's how it was. We went to Maribor, like a specialized music high school, where we told them that, you know, I want to do this, and they accepted me. And I was still studying with Otto Verholnik, but I was going to all other classes to Maribor. So I moved to Maribor already, and then after a year and a half, when I finished the high school, I went to entrance exam, which were kind of done deal already because my teacher was my teacher already. So he said, look, if you just play good like you play, no problem, you know. And I did the entrance exam. I lived in Vienna for 5 years. And then slowly I started transitioning to jazz and improvised music because I finished classical studies. I was very involved into classical too. I was also, let me put it, like I was pretty good, you know. I would definitely have a okay career in classical music. I ended up playing with the Vienna Saxophone Quartet. I was a soloist with some orchestras, did these competitions and, you know, won a first, second, third prize. I was up there, you know, it was good. Um, I'm not saying I was the group great, but, you know, I was good. I was doing fine. Like I said, I could, you know, but I found out about jazz and the rest is history. Well, Verhonik, my teacher there, he noticed that by the end of the classical studies that, you know, I wanna do jazz more, and he never stopped me. He actually supported me, which is not so usual with old school classical teachers. They would say, "Oh no, you can't play jazz. That's like almost devil's music." And you know, back in the day, now it's different, of course, but 25 years ago, 28 years ago, it was different. And I heard a lot of stories. And I heard even stories that Verhonik said to other students, no, no, you can't do jazz. But to me, he didn't. I don't know why. He supported me. I remember I even played Phil Wood's Sonata, which has an improvisational part for my classical diploma. So he was kind of, you know, always supportive. Also, when I was kind of leaving him, you know, going away, and so, well, we came to the studying part now and how I went to jazz. But those were my beginnings. I really started late. I started practicing music when I was 15 years old, practicing seriously saxophone. I started jazz when I was 22 or so. So everything came late with me. I'm a late bloomer. But yeah.
Well, we also share that. I also started pretty late. Yeah, yeah. I was also.
When did you start?
I started. I mean, I kind of convinced my dad to buy me a guitar when I was 14, and then
me too.
His responses. Yeah, you did
the guitar. I mean, the guitar.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, his response was that I just didn't do enough. When I suggested before to, you know, because this was a negotiation that took maybe a couple of weeks, you know, come on, you know, he used to take me with him because he had this small company. He was doing stuff. He was doing electrical bell ringing in Slovenia for the churches, you know, and he would sometimes like take me along to help him, you know, like a teenager, you know, and then we would have time when we would drive around for stuff, you know, and then
so
I would.
Huh? You almost became a priest.
Oh my God! Yeah. Like
you were in the way.
Yeah. So we had time. We had negotiation moments, you know, in between. And his response was strong statement was that from my piano playing, there nothing came out. But let me just put a little statement to that. His piano is a small Casio keyboard that I got when I was 3, man. You know, like,
you couldn't express yourself on that shit, right?
Man, I nailed all the fucking demos that were there, you know, like that's as far as I got, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah. That then also, you know. But yeah,
it's interesting how we need certain people that kind of recognize something in you and see. And I mean, I don't think my family believed that I can be a musician.
Yeah,
too. You know, they didn't because they just. I remember my first, you know, little recital when you in a music school when all the schoolmates perform one short tune. I was playing, and this, the teacher wanted to play us by heart. Well, I didn't even learn the notes, whereas learn the whole piece by heart. But he pushed me, and I went up on stage, and I'm like da 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 da. Da. And the piano player, she was like, keep going, I got you. I'm like, keep going where? I don't know, I don't have a clue. I'm lost in space, I'm lost on clarinet, I don't know what. If you ask me now to play a note, I wouldn't even know where the C is, that's how bad it was. So I just bow and I left the stage. She was still playing, people were like so the funny thing is that once I started to practice, when I was still in Velenje, not I didn't move to Maribor High School yet. I wasn't in Vienna yet. That was when I started to practice. 2 years I was really shedding, and Otto Verhonik said to my clarinet teacher, who was also conducting of Godba, of marching band, and this marching band was at high level, so sometimes we would get substitutes, and the orchestra would be like 80 people, 90 people, and we would play symphonic pieces. Still a wind orchestra, but So Otto Verhonik called my ex-clarinet teacher and a conductor of the marching band. He said, yeah, I think Jure should be a soloist with the band. This teacher was like, what? I almost threw him out of my class, and now on saxophone, he's going to be soloist. Yeah, Otto said, oh, he's really good. Like, he's working hard. Like, he can play Chardash. And I really, at that point, I was getting my technique was getting better and better. And Otto liked the technical aspect, too, of music and players. So he gave me this Chardash to learn. And funnily, eventually they agreed, and I was a soloist with that orchestra, where 2 years ago I was third clarinet, sitting way in the back. And when we played symphonic pieces, the conductor said, Jure, from bar 70 to actually till the end of the tune, don't play, don't blow, just move your fingers. Just move your fingers so it looks good, but don't play. And in front of all orchestra, everybody were laughing, and I was laughing too, and I didn't even care. The funny thing was, I didn't care. I was there for the hang.
Yeah.
I wasn't there that I have to play or whatever. I was there. But 2 years later, I was the soloist. So the whole music school was like, Jure is a soloist? My theory teacher was a very, very, very ambitious guy. You know him, but we won't drop names here. But anyway, he was very, very ambitious, and and when my mom told him that I'm going to play with Claudio Abbado, he was like, what? Wait. He said, Jure is going to play with Claudio Abbado? And mom said, yeah. They all couldn't believe it. And then 2 years later, when I was a soloist, they're like, what? Jure is going to be soloist with... Wait, Jure Pukl, the clarinet guy, he's going to now... It was but I understand them, because now that I see it back, because I was really not serious before.
Yeah. Wow.
So, I mean, I'm not serious, still not serious today, but...
Yeah. Crazy.
At that point, it was really... it was interesting. Yeah, it was...
yeah.
I have to say, probably without Otto Verhonik, we wouldn't talk today here.
Yeah, man.
I mean, you never say never, but I don't know who else in that moment would be,
Right.
So, yeah. Well, did you have some person that kind of put you in the direction, or it just came kind of naturally?
Yeah. Man, I have to say that I also had a very similar experience when a person says to you, man, you should do something else, Like for me, it happened on when I went to entrance exams to Graz. Like let's not drop names, but it was some time ago, 10 years ago. And it was also, you know, like hearing that, you know, was like, shit, man, dude, how can you say that, you know? But I understand him, you know. Now I understand. After years, I understood him, man. That guy, that dude, sees 70 guitar players in one day, you know.
Right,
Like
right.
at the end of the day, you were destroyed, man, and like you just wanna, you know, clear everything out. And, you know, maybe in that flavor,
Right.
he also, you know, probably all his energy was out, and he was just, you know, sharing that. Just, you know, man, just go do something else, because music is really not for you. Like those were his
See,
words, you know.
I guess both of us, we will never say this to a student or a colleague, or because we experienced it, and not that it really hurt me at that time, but it just made clear that I don't want to do music to, you know, in that
Yeah.
kind of environment or sense. So yeah, the other day I was thinking, and now when I'm teaching, I'm trying to be supportive and not fake supportive, but like, you know, supportive in sense of not saying something like you can't do it, or you're not able to do it. Oh, you won't be able. Oh, you know, uh, sky's the limit, and dreams are, you know, dreams are there to make them real, to make them, you know.
Yeah.
So who am I to judge and say whether you're capable? And we don't know the background. You don't know the capacity of one's person, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You can it's really, we have to be so careful, especially with art and that, you know. Oh, you know,
Yeah.
luckily we were like strong, and actually that comment even made me a little bit angry in that sense. Like, how do you dare, man? Like, you know
And
me
you want
3
to
years.
prove him wrong,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Or
yeah,
like
yeah,
just
yeah.
prove yourself and whoever,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
really boosted me.
Yeah.
You know, I was like,
Yeah.
man, you're gonna see. You know, like
Yeah.
you will see one day.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? I think.
So you see, at the end, maybe it is good that somebody says something like that, but still,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
For me, it
If
worked great. For me, it
yeah,
worked great. You
yeah,
know, yeah, I
yeah,
wouldn't change it. Actually, I
yeah.
wouldn't change it. I'm grateful for that experience, because it also made me, like, I remember the time when I was then driving from Graz back to Velenje. I was thinking about it a lot. You know, like, do I really want it? Why do I want it? And like the answer was, I fucking want it. Not that I want it a little bit. Like, this is what I want to do for life, man. Like,
Yeah.
for sure. And and that attitude, I think, never changed. You know, like
Yeah.
it's I don't do it really for the bucks or something. You know, it's really way deeper why I do music.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks to him, man. Also a very important
Yeah.
person, right? Like, yeah.
It's so many things that influence the shaping of our personality, music. Let's say music personality, since we are musicians and we talk about that.
Yeah.
So many factors and so many little things that we're not even aware of sometimes, a lot of times actually. So yeah.
Yeah. And oh man, this was a trip. Wow. Loved it. And do okay. Now maybe we drop a little bit into the, because I just remember that couple of weeks ago we discussed a little bit the crypto world. Now I'm going to jump a bit, and you mentioned, I didn't know that. I only saw the artwork from your one of your recent albums. Is it called Anorok or something like that? Or
Anorok is the band, the band name. The record name is Melt.
right, and on the
Yeah.
mouth, and it looks like noses blended with like body parts. I don't know. It was like, wow.
I
Who
don't
did
even know
this?
what it is. Well, who did? That's a good question. Who did this? Well, to explain the whole story, I got into crypto a little bit in 2020, the worst time to get into crypto. So until today, I'm still in. I'm still, as you say, holding and trading sometimes. And I made some profit already, but I spent it back in crypto because I thought that there's, you know, the usual. But I learned my lesson. I went through like almost, yeah, well, almost 4 year period, which is a one crypto circle. For people that know a little more about crypto. Anyway, so I'm still in. I later, when I lost a lot of, when my, you know, earnings or profit dropped, and I went into NFTs and researched that and learned that and spent, you know, crypto money on that and lost it and came back and bought, you know, NFTs and sold them for triple price and blah blah blah. All that I'm in. And I kind of take it as a, you know, as this 1% of my life going with the world, what's happening, what is there out there. I don't know if I completely believe in it, but I just go with it. You know what I mean? I don't know if you have to believe it. It's just there. We will see, I guess, in the future how big role of, you know, in the world it will have. It has already some, but still not, you know. Anyway, so one day I bought this NFT. I was scrolling, searching, looking for new NFTs, possible, you know, profit makers or possible thing that would catch people's attention. That's the whole catch in NFTs. And then I saw this NFT called Parasite, and, you know, read about it, and it says what they are, what their product is, but then the actual NFT, you know, picture or token or whatever it is, it said that it's changing every 24 hours. The NFT itself, the picture, the you know, JPEG.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, how is it changing? Well, then I read that once you buy the NFT, you put it in your wallet, digital wallet, and digital wallet is like a museum of your NFTs. You have different pictures or whatever you bought in there. So this Parasite goes to other pictures and takes out the information of the picture, which is the picture itself, and then gets inspired from those pictures and makes a version of their own, you know, NFT, like a picture. So it's really like different every night, because also you're selling and buying new NFTs, so you throw in new ones, and then the next morning this Parasite gets inspired from these new ones and the old ones that you had. So it never it's anything similar to the previous day. It's always like so random. I was like, wow. I even, you know, I had couple, and a lot of things were some sculptures, some like shapes and colors and this, and it didn't look. And then you see a little part. Oh, that's from that NFT, but it's just a little part. You don't even notice if you don't look really close. And so it was really interesting to have it, but nothing happened. They didn't get worth more. They didn't succeed, or whatever you call that. So eventually I started selling them, but I kept one. And that one was changing. And then one morning I had my coffee and I said, oh, let me do my crypto, you know, crypto routine. And I looked and I opened the wallet and I have this. And I said, oh, let me see what the Parasite looks like today. And I opened it. It was this something, and it looked like melting down. And I liked it. It was it's like a surrealism art, or a little pop art too. It's some weird material that you wouldn't know how to describe what it is. It's like some plastic, but not, it's like rubber plastic. It's all kinds of like, I was like, man, it looks even ugly, but it looks interesting, but it looks nice. It's all these emotions that it, you know, I'm saving this. So You know, I saved the JPEG in a high resolution quality, as every NFT is if you download it, and then the next day it was gone. It was something else again. So that stuff was, I mean, that was a, I think we could call it AI, artificial intelligence, made it, you know, in a way, made that based on my other NFTs that were in my wallet. So this kind of thing can be reproduced or redone. I mean, it can be reproduced now since I have the JPEG, but it wouldn't be, you know, it was 24 hours think in the life of a crypto or NFT in a digital world, you know.
Wow.
Like that one day fly, you know, and they live for one day. That's all day. One day. Yeah. Party time.
What a great day.
Yeah. Or you have a shitty day. Imagine you have a shitty day on that one day. You have you have diarrhea and you anyway, I saved that NFT, I saved that picture and forgot about it. And then when I was recording this album, what am I gonna call it? All that, what was I representing or showing with this album? And then I remember, man, that NFT, where do I have it? So I searched in computer or searched my external hard disk, found it. I'm like, yeah, that's it. I kind of had a visual memory from it, and I know that it was something that it's melting down. You're the first that's, I mean, not many people describe what it is, but you're first time that I hear it, that it's two noses together, possibly. I don't know. And now I'm thinking, I should probably see a wallet. Maybe there was something, a NFT with nose or something. I don't know, but I never thought of that, you see. So it's even today, it's fresh, and it's like, oh yeah, maybe it was some noses.
Yeah.
So I used it. I mean, I called my label and I said, look, guys, I have idea for a CD cover, you know. Yeah, well, but our designer, web designer, and the cover designer, he will need to, you know. I said, I think it's done deal. It's a front page. Also, we can use it for back page and blah blah blah, everything. But then and I put the names on it, how I see it, and then melt down there where the thing goes down. And I sent them. They were like, oh yeah, actually, yeah, we like it. It's cool, you know. They finished, finalized it, and that was it. There's nothing like it. It doesn't have a connection now, because now also NFTs are connected. I mean, you can put on music, you can sell your music through crypto, NFTs, all that artificial intelligence nowadays coming up. So, but it has nothing to do with that. It's not that kind of. I just use a picture for my album cover. So, but I was thinking before I used it, wow, it would be cool. You know, maybe the future will bring us there too, that we will sell music through NFT, or, you know, like a pay with crypto. We'll see. Things are happening already. Some people are doing it. I didn't get there yet because I don't think my music right now it's like a good innovation in the NFT world of how to, I don't know, but I didn't start doing yet. But I'm aware of it. I'm following. I'm, you know, reading when something comes around and it interests me, and so yeah, that's the NFT jazz cover album story.
yeah. I'm gonna
the funny thing is that the music is very acoustic. It's like bass drums, trumpet and saxophone. But then the download at the record download code is a completely digital music made by Stane Spiegel, also Velenje-based artist, and he made this. He called it remixes, but it's nothing like my tunes. You don't really recognize the you know, tunes off of his remix or whatever that is, but something that the, you know, people that have a record and they found the code and eventually download the music. They call me, wow, this is like a space trip. It's like, wow, who did this? What is this? You know. But yeah, it's on there. So
Well,
it has two faces. The main face is, of course, my quartet with acoustic compositions and playing. But then the code for download MP3s of this remixes done by Stan are completely other world.
yeah. Whoa.
So
But both.
maybe it has a little digital, connection, NFT, digital
Yeah.
world, whatever.
Yeah. Man, I'm gonna put this stuff also in the show notes so that people
Okay.
can check it out.
Okay. Thank you.
And what brought you back to Slovenia, man?
Man, life brought me back. Yeah, I was living for the past 9 years in New York before the pandemic. I went on tour and to the workshop in Slovenia in Velenje that I organized, Creative Jazz Clinics Velenje, but also tour afterwards in Russia, Ibiza, Kosovo, and so on with my previous album, Broken Circles. And we finished the tour on March 7th, 2020, which was already, we were watching TV every day. What's happening in the world? This virus called Corona, blah, blah, blah. Actually, my flight back home was through Venice. And Venice at that time was like an epicenter of the whole thing. So I didn't even know if I'm going to make it to Venice. But then I called the airport. They said, yeah, we're open, but it's strict procedures and blah, 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 everything. But yeah, you can fly in. So I went home. My friend was waiting outside at the parking lot for 2 hours. We had a delay too. He said, "Man, I didn't leave the car. I didn't want to get, I didn't want to get the virus." And he was just watching YouTube in the car. He said, "One time I had to use a bathroom, so I just went to the next street in the parking lot, and took a leak there, and he was all out." And and anyway, I went back to Velenje because I should play some other concerts in Austria with some other groups. And the Austrians were still saying, yeah, no, everything's going to be fine. It's, we're going to play those concerts. I'm like, I don't know. The world is shutting down. I don't know. But in that moment also, well, I was married in New York and with my, now ex-wife. Already before Corona, we were kind of like splitting our ways and talking about separating and talking about that we can't continue like this. We didn't have the good vibe energy anymore. We were, as every other story, we were fighting, we were arguing, we didn't agree, we didn't see the same future anymore. So once I stayed in Velenje and the whole thing happened, I felt like, oh, I don't want to go back now in New York, especially not now. And so, we talked with my ex-wife about it, and it was hard, but I said I will stay. And for a while, we also didn't know if it's going to be 2 weeks or 2 months or what became 2 years almost. Not then. So I was stuck at home, kind of, and at that time I felt good. Actually, I felt good because our energy with my ex-wife was bad at that time, so you feel good if the energy you're away from that. Also, the world stopped, so I felt this calmness of like I didn't feel this calmness in years. I don't know, probably because I was running around the world playing music, working hard, traveling, playing train, suitcase every second day. So I felt good. I was around my parents, which I left the house when I was 16 years old. So and nowadays these years they are over 80 years old, so I wasn't there, and you start to feel the circle of life. I said, circle of life, that I'm somewhere here now, not here anymore at the beginning, it's. And my parents, you start to think about all that, about life, and it just felt right that I'm here. It felt good and right, and I was calm. I went up to the nature weekend house where my mom was born. We have an old 130-year-old house where my mom was born, and we keep it in good shape, and there's a lot of nature and farms around, and I went up there every day practicing, but not like this crazy practicing. It was more like, you know, if I didn't feel like, I would just go up there, play a couple of notes, a couple of melodies, and then lay in the sun and the grass and just observe and listen and breathe. And it wasn't like, I couldn't even do too much of like hard ass practicing per se, you know. It was more like, I mean, just play a couple of notes and maybe play it to the tree, and you know, it was like this different way of feeling the music, which I didn't do in the last 10 years before that, because you know, the professional career makes you run after your performances, after money, after, you know, all that. New York is a crazy city. There's like sound everywhere all the time, even in your sleep. There's like, wee, 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 ah, motherfucker. You know, you just hear all these things and your ears never relax. So this was a different, I went up to the nature, you know, up to the house around nature, and I heard birds, I heard, you know, all this, what I was in love as a little kid. Farm, nature, all that, you know, animals. And I was spending time like that, days and days and days. I didn't, you know, there was a curfew and you couldn't go anywhere. But I was happy. I was like, everybody, oh my God, this is terrible. What's happening? I'm like, no, man, this is good. Wow, it slowed me down. I mean, I wasn't understanding what's happening, but I just felt good, you know. Now I'm describing describing it because I analyzed it afterwards. What was that? Why did I feel good in this whole pandemic? I had 2 weeks in 2 years where I was down, not to be able to make music or to do stuff. But the rest, I was happy. Imagine that. You know, completely. Wait, you were happy in pandemic? Yeah, I was actually happy. I was calm. I was balanced. I was like, I knew nothing. I'm not missing anything because the world stopped, right? So I knew, probably subconsciously, I knew I'm not missing out on anything.
Oh.
The formal fear of missing out was gone, which I have. Well, now I'm older and less, but I always said, oh man, I'm gonna miss, oh, I have to be there. That's why I was running so much around. And at that time it was like, wow. So again, long story short, we divorced with my ex-wife. We figure out it's done. And the more I was, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna stay in Europe for a little longer, just to everything calm down, and then I'll go back. But then the longer I stayed, pandemic was done. I was like, man, I want to live here now. Mm-hmm. I left when I was 18. I left my hometown when I was 16. I left when I was 18, Slovenia, and I never lived back, really. I never lived in Slovenia after I was 18 years old. And when pandemic happened, that was 4 years ago, so that means I was 41. And 42, and I was like, start counting years, how much I was abroad, and I was like, damn, no, this is. And the interesting thing is that the album before was called Broken Circles, and then I start to, like, you know, connect everything, and I mean, connect, I would say, maybe just think about it more on a deeper scale, and I was like, well, if it feels good, why if it feels right, and if it feels good, then it's probably good and right. Right? So the longer I stayed here, it made more sense to be here, and I was like, okay, I'm staying here now. I was still at that time living with my parents, which was great too. Actually, everybody, man, you live with your parents? I said, yeah, we have a house, so it's not that we're bumping into each other but you know, I have an upper floor. It's still there. I have an upper floor where it's like my own little apartment. But every morning I went down, you see your parents, it's like smiling, and it was good. Although we also fought too, but it felt good to be around my parents and my sister who lives in Slovenia too. So I just decided, you know what, I'm done with New York. And then for a certain time I had this idea, oh well, where I'm gonna go now, I felt like, well, I'm done with New York. Here it feels good, but then I have to move somewhere. Like, is it going to be Paris or London or Amsterdam or all this Berlin or Vienna? Well, I know Vienna. I spent a lot of time here, but then I was like, man, why another big city and another chaos? I mean, chaos. Like this fast type of living. I said, my career is where it is. It's not gonna get much bigger, and it's not gonna fall down to like wherever I live. It's gonna be somewhere here where I built it until now. So I start giving up on idea that I have to move somewhere too, that I can just stay in Slovenia. And what's wrong? Like, what's wrong with that? I had to explain myself, and then. Am I gonna move to the capital, Ljubljana? I'm cool here in Velenje. It's a small town. I have my own peace. Like, I don't have to talk about music when I don't want. And then I go on the road anyway, and I'm around musicians, and we play and we travel and we do that. And then I come back home in this environment where it's like nothing about what I do and about So but then university in Ljubljana happened, where we opened a jazz department first time in history, and I was lucky enough to start teach there. That they invite me to teach there. So we started this last October, and I eventually moved to Ljubljana because now it made a little more. Sense for me to be around, where I teach, so I don't have to drive. And also I have a bunch of friends here in Ljubljana. And Ljubljana is really in comparison with cities I lived in, this is a village, it's a nice little city village that has a nice vibe. It's beautiful in summer, especially. So yeah, I'm here in Ljubljana.
Oh man. Wow. It's so cool. I find these podcasts so cool, man, because I get to know so much about people, and same with you, man. Same with you.
Thank you. I think it's a great thing what you do and what you said that you learn. And I guess that your guests are also, at least I can say, they are grateful that you invite us, because also when I talk about this, certain memories, emotions, they come out that you forget about it, but then when you describe the certain period of your life, it comes back up, and it's a nice feeling.
Yeah, I have a couple of more questions.
Hit me, baby.
What is at this moment in your life the most important thing for you?
Well, this last couple of months, it was a kitchen in my apartment. Nice. No, it's true, man. I have to say it honestly. I can't bullshit about arts and music right now, because I'm a little bit out of that. But I accepted it. It's a serious life. I got an apartment in Ljubljana. You have to do all this paper bureaucracy stuff. You have to get meisters in to repaint your house, and just dealing with that life like a normal situation. And I was like, man, I feel so normal, like a normal person. It's good, man. Let me call the painter. Let me call this guy. It's true, Michael. It's true. Like I'm very normal. I mean, when I do arts, I'm in my own world, and that's my shit. But then out of I like this normality, although I'm probably nuts, but I like to feel like, oh yeah, I'm normal, just like the normal guy who goes to work at 8 and comes back at 3 and has to do this and bills and credit and that's what I'm dealing with it with right now in this period of my life. I'm slowly hoping that it's done, because I want to go back to, you know, not not doing that, but every day. And it was since October. Right now, it was like every day something. You know, oh, call this guy. Oh, you have to pay this. Oh, you have to send the email there for this, for that. You have to install, you know, this. You have to buy this. I'm like, I know. Before I didn't know stuff about like credit and bank, how this works. I mean, I know it, I knew it somehow, but not really. You know it when you experience it. Now I even more believe in, like, when the student says, "Oh, I know this scale," I said, "Well, play it for me," and then it's like, "Oh, yeah." You slowly finding the notes. You played all the right notes, but this is not you knowing. You know about it, but you're not owning it. You don't know it.
Yeah.
So, so I understand. See, I connect everything at the end with music and arts, but it is like that. The experience, they come from experiencing, not talking about it, or somebody else talking about it, or you reading about it, or you. I mean, certainly, yeah, but the real experiences you have to. So all this learning how to, you know, fix your apartment and what you have to do, and it's funny, with almost all the guys who came into my house to fix something, we ended up talking about music and what I do. And they're like, "Oh, wow." And they give me discount because they like it. You know, it's like, and I never start. I don't, well, sometimes I say, well, he asks me, "Well, how you don't know this pipe goes into," you know, I'm like, "I don't know, man. I know about C major scale, but I don't know about this." And then he looks at me, he's like, "Are you a musician?" You know, that would be all I say, but I'm not like talking about. And then we start, and then they're super interested, and I can see them. They like it, that they work for somebody who's like, you know, um, "Well, you've been to Japan?" I said, "Yeah, I played in Japan." "Oh, wow," you know. So right now I'm at this point, and I would lie if I didn't write music in half a year or so. But I, you know, it's part of what I have to do now. So I think right now I'm close to like finish this part, what I had to do, but it had to be done. Otherwise, you know, um, now I feel good in my apartment, in the environment, and I have to feel good. You know how it is. Like, you have to make your.
Man, the kitchen. Oh man, the kitchen. To me,
Man.
the kitchen is important, man. Oh, I get so picky. I get nervous if I have to cook in another person's kitchen, man. Oh,
Or some like bad made, like where you can. Oh, how do I put this? It's like, I'd rather not cook. I'd rather go eat outside. And I love to cook, and I know you love to cook too. So yeah, it was important to do that. You know, we're almost done. It's like 95% is basic. I mean, basically everything is done. It feels good. You know, there's little details and little things that we need to fix.
So the next album will probably be Broken Pipes, or
yeah. Then in 1 year now we fixed everything, and then she's gonna go down again, like always. Oh, the oven's not working anymore. This pipe is broke. You're right. Yeah, probably it will be another like life story put into the jazz or whatever music language, and describing. Yeah, no, I wanna now, you know, I also moving to Ljubljana. It was a lot of things. You have to find your new rehearsal space. I can't really work at home because saxophone is too loud. I have my keyboard here and I can write music. But as I said, I didn't come to that yet because I don't have the time nor the energy. When you have a couple of hours, you're just like, let me just chill, you know. And you have to practice your instrument for gigs, for program for your work, for just a regular work. So I do that, like, and I wasn't really, how you say, producing like arts and music and writing. I wasn't. It just was not possible, you know.
Yeah.
I completely gave up, and I feel good about it. So, you know, because you can have this, oh man, I should be writing, oh, I should be productive, oh, I should be, you know. No, man, life will tell you what you have to do. And now you have to do kitchen because otherwise you're nervous and you can't do anyway. So,
Yeah.
but I have to say, for the last 25 years, I I mean, I always had an okay kitchen, but I didn't care about these things so much. I cared when I'm gonna practice, when I'm gonna write music, where I'm gonna play, when I'm gonna play, who I'm gonna play, music, music, music. So now it's kind of natural that this period kicked in, and life showed me no, you gotta
Yeah.
you gotta fix that first.
Uh, and what what is would you be willing to share like a recent challenge that you've overcame, or something that you are overcoming? Do you have something?
You mean musically, life, or
Life music?
whatever?
Yeah.
Mm, yeah, fear of stillness. I'm still learning because I'm based, and I will be based here, and probably the rest of my life. Well, never say never, but my plan is for the rest of my life to stay here in Slovenia, and then to build. I mean, to build, to build life here, to build um, circle of friends and people. Well, I have friends and people I work with, but to be here around here, to teach at the university, of course, to travel and play, which I'm still doing, so I'm not giving that up. But that stillness is still, it's like I'm more home. I don't go out on the road that much anymore. I mean, I go every month, but not every week. And in New York, I would go listen to music almost every night if there was something. It was exhausting. It was great. But it was because it was there, and because I couldn't stay home if I knew that there's this and this playing down there. I had to go, and now I'm more like, yeah, I don't have to go. My ears are full of music. I mean, there's always new stuff, so I'm following, I'm listening. I know everything what comes out, but I don't have to run anymore, and I have to be there. It's not that feeling, but then that feeling that I'm home and just doing nothing sometimes. That feeling scared me, and I figured out it was feeling of stillness. And every day, like a Groundhog Day, that movie, everything every day is the same, and then you go nuts, and oh man, for artists that's like a cage almost, right? So learning how to deal with that, it's my how to still have the same fun in your heart, in your mind, but not go that crazy. You know what I mean? Also, like before, every how do you say uspech?
Success.
Every success. Sorry, what a blank. Um, every success was like, wow, I had to like celebrate it personally for me, like it was almost like a religious, and then every down moment was also, oh, it's so bad, too much extreme. Like when it was good, it was too high, you get too high from that feeling, and when it was bad, you go too low. And now I brought this to more like, here. When it's good, yeah, it's good, We know when it's good. We have to know when it's bad that it's going to be good again. But we also have to know when it's good that it's going to be a little harder and bad again. So that it's not this euphoric, both sides. Because also, also euphoric state when you go high can bring you to the wrong direction. And of course, vice versa. When you go down, that you don't just kill yourself because you didn't do good, or something bad happened. And I think that's I think it's a great philosophy for life, for anybody, not just artists, but we maybe experience, we have tendency to feel that more because we need action all the time. If there's no, like, we're like, oh, what's happening? I need, I think that goes for everyone in the art world, or most of us. So yeah, just learning that, balancing more. And
yeah, the joy of missing out.
yeah, the joy of, like, yeah. And I learned so much from just the normal people, like, you know, what I said before, when they say, oh man, it's so nice to just come home on Friday afternoon and just hit the couch and, you know, and just like watch something on TV you're not even really interested in, and just like be like, oh yeah. I couldn't, you know, that was out of my agenda. That was like, man, how can you, like, no, you gotta watch, at least you gotta watch something that you're really interested in, that I really need to read the book, you know, I need to go there, and, you know, even if it's my free time. Now I understand it. Now I understand it better, how that can relate to me and my, you know, life. And it's true, sometimes I just like, especially now that I fix my home, you know, sometimes you just we forget in life, I think, that sometimes it's enough just to be.
Yeah. Wow.
That you don't have to do anything, you don't have to prove anything, not to yourself, not to anybody else, that it's enough just to be. And a lot of fear, anxiety, and those kind of feelings go away when you really get into that.
Wow. On this note, I want to ask you also.
Sorry.
No worries. What would be the most important lesson or a quote that you got in life and that you keep coming back to it, or that keeps popping up?
Yeah. Probably there is a bunch of, but one is which which is musical, and it's, you know, it's in something what we do. One, yeah, famous drummer Nashid Waits told me, don't go same place twice. Which, it's not, you know, well, that's not so big, or, you know, quote, whatever, you know, it's, but then when you think, for artists, don't go same place twice. It's a complete, like, well, it's 100% art, I would say. Why? Because if you did something already, you know, you can't do it anymore, or don't do it again. So that puts you out of your comfort zone, because you have to be different every time, right? Then second thing is, you don't become how you say, banal. You don't become, how would you say that word? You don't become like a product. Oh, you know, you just make the same, which we do. It's hard to go away from that. But that, you asked me about the one, what was the, you know, big wisdom that you. So I'm thinking about that like that. It's not something that I can, or that we can really leave. Don't go same place twice. But it's deep, and it has that, like, as an artist, you know, there's a couple of artists probably out there that do that, but just a couple. But then they're broke. They, you know, they don't have normal life. Because they go 100% into arts, and they change every time something. So they probably can't even function in a normal, you know what I mean? But I mean, the craziest artists in the world were like that, right? Most, like, if you think. Then the third thing is that don't go same place twice. You won't get bored, right? It will always be something new, something, if you take it like that. fourth in a let's say in a jazz language, in a jazz solo, you don't build your solo, crash your solo, build another one, crash your solo. No, you build one, and when you feel it, you're done. Like, and the whole band was with you there. The high energy was there. It makes kind of sense as a shaping a perfect solo. That you don't build up, you load down. No, you're building it up, building it up. When you don't have anything more to say, you give it to somebody else. You pass it on. So that was another, little thing that I could understand in that quote. Don't go same place twice. Well, another thing that was a big lesson for me also, and it also translates from musical language into life, was by the great late Barry Harris. A lot of people say that Barry was a bebop police and that he only loved bebop, but I say no, because I experienced with him something that when I tell this to musicians, they're like, oh wow. Years ago, when I came back from Berkeley, he was in Slovenia doing a workshop, and I think Bernard Prescien organized his coming here and teaching. So I didn't have money at that point. I came back from Berkeley. I was broke. So I called this organizer and said, look, I really want to be there, but I can't pay the 300. I don't have money. Can you give me can I pay off slowly, or what can we do? He said, well, you'll pay me off somehow. So be there, but, try not to be too exposed. And, eventually I was asking Barry questions, a lot. And for lunch, he was always, where's Yuri? Yuri, come sit with me. He'd start to like me. And then he heard me at the jam session at Gaius. And I had fast fingers from classical, but, a lot of wrong notes, and didn't know what I'm playing harmonic wise. And he came to me, he said, yeah, I like fast fingers. And I said, oh, Barry, I know what you want to say. That's like, I play so many wrong notes. And then I said something that triggered his response. I said, I know, Barry, I should play bebop. And he looked at me. No, you should be interested in bebop. Check it out, learn it, and then play your shit, whatever you want.
Yeah,
see?
Man. Yeah.
That was like, wow. Yep. From somebody who's, let's say, everybody considered as a jazz police, bebop police guy. But he told me that. And then yeah, so he really liked me, and I like him a lot. Like, I was so I have something with elders, because I see that experience in them, going through life, through not just what they did and how good they were, but just going through life experience, bad things, worse things, and I have something with them, and a lot of like these elders, I connected with them, and I got back a lot from them. And yeah, I'm still, very, if I have a chance to talk to somebody like that, I ask him, like, questions in the backstage of Gaius. Everybody were afraid, and I was like, Barry, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about this? And he was just keep going. He loved it. So once at lunch, he was signing the diplomas for the workshop, and there was no my diploma because I didn't pay the money. And he was like, where's Yuri's diploma? Where's Yuri's diploma? And the organizer sneak out something. Yeah, well, and then he just took a napkin and wrote the napkin, to my Slovenian son Jure Pukl, with a B.
Wow.
And I framed it and I still have it at home somewhere.
Wow.
So yeah, but that was one of the lessons I will never forget. And it told me, you have to learn a lot of things, or be interested, or try to figure out some stuff, even though it's not your field of expertise, maybe, or your field of music, or your field, but you will learn stuff from something strong and big,
Yeah.
Anyway, anyhow, you will be able to use it. And what he said, then you play what you want. That's even, just adds the cherry on top. Like, yeah.
Right.
Like, and I see it, I understand it even better today, although I understood it at that point already, but I even see it, how strong and deep it was, when I'm teaching, and you learn from a less experienced colleague that, how some things how shouldn't be done, or they're not, like, they don't sound good like that. So that's why you learn from somebody who doesn't know it to do it better yet. So it's a deep quote.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you.
Or another one would be this one is short and very, let's say, adventurous. So again, you can translate it to life, a normal life experience, not just arts. Is after Joe Lovano's lessons at Berkeley, we had an ensemble with Joe Lovano every week, and he would be playing with us. He's not a per se great teacher in that sense. Oh, you have to do this, you have to do this. He's just like, man, melody and harmony. Melody, rhythm, and harmony, Yeah, well, that's about it. But like, how? Well, melody, just play melodies. But that's how he is. But then he would be there and play with you. So you get the, source directly from the source.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be explained with words. It's enough because he's playing with you. Anyway, we're going out of the class. We're walking out, and he's walking. I'm like, Joe. Hey, Joe, can I ask you another question? He's like, sure, man. I'm like, Joe, do you ever get lost and you don't know what you're doing, but you just go for it? And he looks at me like, yeah, man, that's the best. So to translating it in life, like sometimes you don't have to know what you're doing. Sometimes you don't have to know where you're going. You just go for a walk and you just walk, and then you will see where it takes you. And in music and arts, especially, that's in jazz music, that's especially the quote of the century, because it's adventurous music.
Yeah.
And it should be, we practice and we train our ears and minds and fingers and feelings and emotions. We train them all our lives. We don't stop practicing. But then when you go on stage, you should let all that go. It should be naked, a blank tabula rasa, blank paper, whatever. It should be honest. It should be childish. It should be naive. It should be. I think that's where I shouldn't use the word should, but I feel that when you do that, people feel it. The audience or whatever, people who are listening or watching, they feel that. And I think that's a big part of arts, just being able to be naive and childish and innocent in that moment on stage, and forget that you practiced 8 hours for that. You have to forget that. Nobody's interested in that. And this quote, yeah, man, that's the best. It sums so much of that.
Yeah.
Like, just go for it. The scales. You don't think of. I mean, actually, Bird said, famous quote: "You have to practice, and know everything, and then after a while you have to forget all that and just play." So, it's a close quote from Bird, Charlie Parker, who's invented in a way this music. And so maybe those 3 quotes. Yeah.
Wow.
As I said, there's more, and I would have to,
This was a fantastic package of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, even now, I didn't talk about this in a while now, and it made me think, I don't know what I'm gonna do right now. Maybe I just go play music, Since the kitchen is done, I can blow some. Maybe I'll put some couple of notes into the kitchen and good spirits there, so the food will be good.
Yeah. Well,
we'll see.
And on the last note, Where can people get to you? How can they find out more about you, about your upcoming events? Where are you most active?
I just figure out my website is how you say closed down. I didn't update it. I didn't pay in a while, so they closed it down. Because I'm so like website. When I started, it was so like, oh man, you have to have a website. But then all this social media, and we're everywhere now. You can almost track a person where he's walking right now. So I forgot a little bit about my website, so I'm not really updating it, and I don't have it anymore. So in the near future, right now I have a local staff, meaning I'm in Ljubljana till May 14th, and I'm teaching mainly right now, and I will be practicing music for the next 2 tours. I'm doing a tour with a Polish drummer, Piotr Brodliak, and his quintet. Maybe you know the great David Gorushka, guitar player from Prague. Really somebody to check him out. I met him at Berkeley, and a great guitar player, but kind of unknown. He's on it. He's gonna be in the band, um, and uh, and we're gonna be in all over Poland, 6 concerts or 7 concerts plus 2 days of recording Piotr's album. And right after that, I'm flying to Graz to record with another drummer, which is Chris Smith. He's a newly positioned professor for drums in Graz, a drummer from New York. But funnily, we never met in New York. And we're doing, yeah, we're playing Porgy and Bess in Vienna, and we're doing 2 nights or 3 nights in Graz, and another gig somewhere in Austria, and then we're also recording in Vienna, which will be, yeah, that will be the both drummers things will be in the period from May 14th to end of May 30, May 30th. I'm back. And then I will be around Ljubljana, Slovenia again for 2 3 weeks, and then well actually no, then I'm mostly summer. I'm around here playing gigs in Slovenia, Ptuj, well Graz also, something in Vienna. So I'm around here for now, doing little things around Europe. I just came from Prague, where I was playing with the Prague Radio Symphony Orchestra. They have a great production. They brought in conductor Bastian Steele, who's working with Avishai Cohen, used to work with Wayne Shorter Quartet and orchestras. Great conductor who understands both worlds, meaning classical and jazz. And he can, sometimes classical musicians in an improvisational aspect, they don't know what's happening, where the time is, where's the one, or stuff like that. And he's a great conductor for that, very musical too, great guy. We just met, and I think we're gonna work in the future, hopefully maybe even with Slovenian orchestras. There's some talking about Symphony Orchestra Vienna, and concert house, that maybe we will do a quartet and concert up there, which will be 25-26 season. But yeah, I was in Prague, and it was really great experience. They support local musicians, I mean national musicians, and I was playing with Kristina Barta. I did her CD 2 years ago, and now they call her for this orchestra thing, and she called me if I would come up, and I said I love playing with orchestra, so I was there right away. And what I wanted to point out is, like, we would need that in Slovenia too, like to have a symphonic orchestra that collaborates with, out of classical music musicians, meaning jazz, world music, improv, all that stuff. They're doing it twice a month with a different Czech musician or a group.
Wow.
Twice a month.
Wow.
Imagine that. So there's like what, 24 concerts a year, more, or let's say 20. Probably December they just do one, or certain periods of. But the great thing, very supportive, very they record everything, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, there's plenty of things that we can here in Slovenia, of course, get inspired by if we look around just a little bit, So Croatia started this fantastic export office, like tour export office, which I think it's a great,
Oh
you know,
yeah,
I think we
I
should
did.
definitely
I will
start
check
doing
it
the
out. I don't
same.
know about it. Yeah,
Yeah, I think we also would welcome it as touring artists,
yeah,
to have fundings for our tours. You can easily, man, you buy a plane ticket and there goes 1,000 euros. Especially if
yeah,
you go to, I don't know, tour in
yeah,
Asia. Good luck.
yeah, 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 yeah.
That's it. So yeah, oh,
Yeah, I see something in Slovenia that is not on the menu yet, which is what you said, like exporting Slovenian musicians now. That people could live here and have a base and work locally, and but work also internationally more. And that we need to start to believe in ourselves. We're a small country, so we have this complex of smallness, and it's always no, not good enough. Oh, not, no. We have to get rid of that, and we're good enough, and we can play around. As Germany has their cultural forum, and they send Germans around the world. They play everywhere, or Polish musicians, or this, or I mean, look, even this, that I'm working a lot with, musicians from Poland or Czech or Slovakia even, because they saw that I was, internationally recognized, and I was living in New York, and now I'm here, and they invite you. We don't do really that like here, like that you would invite. I mean, we do a little more and more, but I think this scene is still like cooking and developing. And hopefully in the future, I mean, also we came a lot of musicians of us that lived in abroad came back now, and I think we will be now responsible to build the scene, to make the scene stronger, to make more connections, to show younger musicians. And I mean, the level went so up in Slovenia now, the last 15 years, and I see some musicians, some younger musicians, they say, "Oh, I remember your first record, man. I listened to it 1,000 times." I see that we left some tracks for them, and that they got inspired from that. Which for us it was different. I didn't know much like a progressive, improvised jazz music when I started. It was not that many, and now there's so many of us that are showing the way to the younger colleagues, and I think it's going to just grow better. But we have to take care of us and the scene and
yeah,
nourish it.
yeah. Well, oh, dear Jure, thank you so much for this, for your words, for your stories, for your openness, honesty, insights. I really appreciate this conversation, and yeah, so happy that from the bottom of my heart, I really thank you for being here.
Oh,
For
same.
us.
So same here, man. You inspire me with your questions and your direction of what we're gonna talk about. So it was a good feeling, good times. That
Yeah.
probably these 2 hours or something passed like half an hour for me.
I don't know. I have to check how long it was.
Yeah,
I also lost track.
I think
So
I think
yeah,
I need to start cooking dinner and check out how my bread dough is rising.
it has risen,
It
probably.
has risen. Yeah.
Right. Oh man, yeah. Hey, I hope to see you soon to have a chat in person. Probably I'm coming by to Ljubljana in the coming weeks.
Let me know when you're
Uh,
here. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
yeah,
And we
and
gotta we gotta play soon too.
exactly. Yeah, we do that. We do everything now.
All right, man. All right.
Cool. Have a great night, man.
You too. Thank you again.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Also, feel free to share your thoughts and ideas on the topics we've discussed today in the comments, as well as any burning questions you might have for my future guests. I'm your host, Michael Hrustil, and until next time, I wish you a sound mind.